Everything is, it's one of the oldest axioms of philosophy. Let's say you've heard of Hermes Trismegistus. Hermetic tradition.
I have now. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, let's say thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, before recorded history, there was this sage, actually people say it was more than one, a group of, that put out the laws of energy and these laws are immutable. They apply to everything. Everything vibrates. Everything is in a state of change. Opposites attract. I mean, it's all about how everything functions in the universe. And the key note to that is vibration. The universe is constantly, all creation, all things and people that are composed of things, because we are not a thing, but we are composed of these elements, are always in a state of change and movement. Our whole entire universe, which we're seeing now scientifically, outer space, is all in constant change and movement. Our sun is in constant state of explosion and recreation, and so vibration is that oscillation, let's say, that all matter possesses. Now these oscillations can be changed. What changes them? Does anybody really know? We know. I'm sure other people do, but we established the whole teaching on the fact that we are able to influence and change these oscillations or these vibrations by being in that still point.
Okay.
By contacting the light, which again is, I don't like using it too much, but it is correct in concept. By reaching that space inside ourselves, space, place, where we are whole, where it's an experience of fullness and of cohesion with others, with existence. It is learning to unlearn. Do you like that one? Unlearning the rigidities and the three-dimensionality fixation with reality, and recognizing, which is easier to do now than it was when I first started teaching all this. Recognizing that there's a lot more happening than meets the eye, or that you're cognizant of. And so that learning will create the space for seeing and perceiving. So for me, learning would lead to perception, and perception will lead to influence. So you learn to see. When you see, you know, and when you know, you are able to influence consciously and deliberately and strongly everything you are. You are an example of that which you practice. Sigmund Freud is a very important step in the history of humanity, but he remained at a level of appearance and a level of gross in the sense of more tangible, feelings. He was fixated, as we all know, in sexuality. And sexuality, that's a whole subject I could talk to you about, but that's not the place. It is a sacred experience of energy. And Sigmund Freud would not understand a word of what I'm saying, because he was also very biased, and he was from his generation biased against women, or let's say women were an inferior species. And they were all hysterical because they had emotions. Gandhi would fall right in tune. He would probably say, yes, you're going in the right direction. The practice of non-violence is the only way to really change reality. The only problem with Gandhi is that he was too severe, too ascetic, and too demanding, and his personal life was a mess. And his children were a mess because of his demands on this extreme asceticism. But philosophically, yes, He would understand, or let's say we would be in tune what we're doing with inner alchemy. I say I'm a writer. I can kind of run away. And so they think I'm a writer of novels, and I say, no, no, no. I teach about some psychology and how we function. Oh, how interesting. That ends the conversation. Nobody really wants to know how they function, really. They want to get something. The end result, the product. But the product is much more than the end result. It is the process, and more than anything, it is those in making the product. The quality that goes into making the product. Do you know what makes a really good cook? The way they are. It's their energy, not just the combination of spices that they use. It's the place where they're from. In India, it is known that the best cooks are all tantric women, in this case. And we have so many marvelous men cooks today. They're people who are in touch with their bodies, with their full energy. They're very passionate, sometimes hysterical, but they're involved in what they're doing. They get their hands dirty. This is what makes the difference at any level, from the CEO to the peasant. I love breaking these barriers, these definitions that people have imposed on spirituality, and saying, hey, you're here to learn to see and perceive and become more yourself than you are right now, because it'll be more genuine, more authentic self. And you are in a body, and we do have, the body has its own laws, which are not exactly the laws of the mind. I teach the difference there.
Yeah.
Because we mix them, we confuse them. We think everything has to function like the laws of matter and nature do. No, there's a higher nature too, and they're working together. So in this lower, without it being pejorative, this material reality, we are vibrating in a body composed of matter. And energies are moving us. There's a whole system. It's a very intelligent system that moves the body much more than the doctors and scientists out there recognize, which is also subtle. And we need to be turned on. It is only when you're turned on that you can change the world. That PowerPoint that I'm talking to you about is a full turn on. And that includes the body. But with that turn on comes the awareness and the ethical aspect. This is a really big, important term for our work and for the understanding that I would like to transmit to people of what we're doing. When we are in this powerful place, when we are fully turned on, and I'm including sexually, the awareness that we are living in a society, that we are part of the human race, that I affect everything around me, is so strong that I cannot misuse that just for personal satisfaction. I get turned on with my boss at work, and that doesn't give me license to cheat on my husband because it just happened. Nothing really happens. We allow it to happen. So sexuality is a sacred meeting. There's a lot of sexual connections that happen that we don't act upon, and they're juicy, productive. We need to redefine the whole question of sex in our society, but that's a different matter. Light we have physical light, which is caused by friction, like fire.
Yeah.
And we have the atomic light, which is a state of it's like the sun, perpetual pulsation and emission of light. The sun is still physical, but there's an inner light, which is, in esotericism, is called the unfed flame. And I like that word, unfed, because nothing is creating it, it's just there. And all religions allude to it in one way or another. This flame, this sacred fire, this And it is tied in with that point of power I was talking to you about, and with the inner state of being, what allows me as embodied consciousness. It is the spark of consciousness. Now this, when I recognize this, when I begin to live in tune with it, or let's say enamor it, it begins to affect my body, and I begin to become healthier, younger, more aware, so I'm not going to get into as much trouble as I would when I'm just following my instincts. I will, okay, the instincts are there, you know, as we were talking about a minute ago, but I also have intelligence and awareness and have greater purpose. So this light begins to show in my body, physically actually. You know, those paintings of the saints with this halo and all this stuff, I mean, it was there in the Middle Ages, they just painted it as a little halo. And some people actually glow. The beautiful Mother Teresa glowed. St. Francis of Assisi, etc., etc. This light also is in the emotions, which are tinged with joy, appreciation. It doesn't mean that you can't get angry. That's normal. But even your anger contains a certain kind of rightful indignation that is correct, that is ethical. That's light. Your thinking becomes much more flexible, wider. It embraces not just the immediate present, but it embraces the concept behind it and the ideal beyond that. So light it'll manifest through our living, through our interaction in all aspects with the world. To implement it and to realize it, and to experience it and to be able to transmit it takes a little time and a lot of patience and courage, because we have to go out there and be different. People are, it's like, you know, they're naked here. They're naked in the sense of the same self-protective separation walls that divide us will begin to diminish. Okay, the Mallorca simply is a place that allows for all this international activity. It's so international itself, not even Spain really.
It's
as an experience. Well, let's see, we've got 3 doctors. One of them is a whole naturopath, and the others are 2 doctors. They're already, obviously if they're attracted here, they've already begun asking very serious and deep questions about what am I doing as a doctor? What am I healing? What is producing this ailment? Not just a psychological issue. We actually have one applicant who is going to be part of the second cohort. She can't come to the first one, who writes about all this, the interconnection between, based in London, the interconnection between the physical body health and mental health. There's a lot of people doing that. But the questions go beyond that. It's like, okay, so what creates the psychological state? And how, more than anything, not even the what, how? How can we transcend that? How can we embrace that and raise that vibration, a way of thinking, into a more open perspective where we can find new and more lasting solutions? I mean, go to the essence instead of just the effect of these things. My message, my purpose, my ideal has always been the same, which we have already defined. The difference between that book and this one has to do with clarity. Having explored, experimented, and discovered among so many different cultures since I first wrote the book to now, gives the book a versatility that perhaps the first one did not have, a greater scope and relevance to our time. And it could not come out at a better time. Everything seems to happen in synchronicity. It's really post-COVID bread, nourishment. The book also will focus a lot on your authenticity, a term which has also become popular, but perhaps not as deeply as it could be. authenticity isn't doing what I like or what I want. It comes from a much deeper place of fulfillment. My hopes are that the people who run our world, the really top influencers, and I really think there is no problem with the top influencers. They've already are awakening to the fact that something more is needed and it is missing. It is the middle ones, it is the ones that come right below the top, who are still under the illusion that success is going to make them happy. And success means material gain. That will feel threatened by anything even coming close to the word spiritual, other than, okay, for 1 hour every morning I'm going to meditate and be in a better state all day to be able to make more money. Or to have a better relationship with my wife, or whatever it might be. But the thing is, they are threatened by the idea that the impetus and the impulse that they've generated, propelled and prepared for and strategized for, will be cut. That they will not be able to continue in that same vein.